Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Before we get started, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 2 land, traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Assiniboine, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and homeland of the Métis Nation. We affirm our commitment to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Daly. Be it resolved that Council accepts the regular council meeting agenda as is presented. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Be it resolved that Council waives the reading and accepts and approves as circulated the minutes of our previous meeting. That's the regular council meeting of June the 9th. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Whereas the Municipal Act, Section 160, bracket 2, states each member of the council must attend the public hearing unless the member is excused by other members from attending, is unable to attend owing to illness, or is required under the Municipal Council Conflict of Interest Act to withdraw from the hearing. Be it resolved that council excuses the following council members from today's hearing, and that would be Councillor Stakilo. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that council now adjourns to hear the public hearing as scheduled. All in favor? Carried. So for our public hearing participants today, we'll now commence to hear representation from the public who wish to make a presentation for the scheduled public hearing under the Planning Act. Anyone who is not yet registered but wishes to make a presentation must state their name, and I think we have both Enid and Jason listed. And so item 4A then, public hearing for bylaw 09-2025, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to amend the zoning bylaw 04-2015, regulating the use and development of land on 722 Main Street North. And so we have Lori Vandenduel as the applicant, and Jason and Enid also registered. So we'll now proceed with the hearing for bylaw 09-2025 regarding the land at this address. And so would the applicant like to speak in favor? Lori, if you'd like to, can you come up to the front table, please, and click the mic on? Martine, maybe you can help Lori do that. And that's just because we're online. So I think everyone can hear in the room, but
okay.
There may be someone's parent watching.
And I believe that the materials that I forwarded into the city in support of the application were forwarded to the individuals that are here today. So you have those, so you're aware of the intention. So currently I operate Urban Law Office out of 122 Main Street North, which is just on Main Street across from CIBC. I do not currently own that building, I rent it. So the idea is for me to move into a space that I own. I have owned 722 Main Street for approximately 5 years. For reasons that I will not get into, I have not been able to move forward with this project until now. So the property unfortunately has deteriorated over time, and I apologize for my neighbors for that. But I'm now in a place to be able to move forward with the project if I am able to successfully have the property rezoned. The plan, given the nature of that corner, the courthouse across the street is a beautiful brick facade. That whole block with 722 being at the end, I don't know what the numbers are, but I know there's 4 houses. They're all century-old brick homes on that block. Then you've got the detachment that's across the way as well. That's a brick home. I come from Ontario. There's a lot of brick in Ontario. So to tear that down, I would just be heartbroken. So the plan is to restore it to be my office space. The current structure itself would be too small for an office space that I would need. So the plan would be to put an addition on the back of it, one-story addition on the back of that to go towards the back lane, and then have parking along the side of the building. And from what I've been advised, the parking option that I would have would be to have a sort of loop beside the building to accommodate traffic coming in and out of the office. As was stated in my materials, currently I have myself and one other associate lawyer. I do have another lawyer starting with me in July, so there will be a total of 3 lawyers at the office. I have 3 support staff as well, so there's going to be, as of July, there will be 6 staff members at the office. So generally speaking, and I don't know, I can address some concerns if I haven't anticipated some of the concerns. Obviously, there would be the construction phase, which would be disruptive to the neighborhood for a period of time. I do have a contractor lined up that would be able to start work on it immediately, because this is something I've been having in my head for the last 5 years. So I've been wanting to sort of get things going now that I'm able to. So I do have a contractor lined up. So there would be the construction phase that would obviously be more disruptive than the normal course. But after that, the hope would be that our office is open 8:30 to 4:30. And but for me being at the office, or some staff being at the office sort of until 6 o'clock or me early in the morning, there would be no traffic, no public traffic coming in and out of that location outside of those hours, Monday through Friday. The majority of our appointments since COVID actually are done via teleconference. We have a lot of out-of-town clients, especially in the wintertime. There's a lot of telephone conferences, video conferences, that sort of thing. So we would have, today, for example, I had 4 appointments, one of which was in person. So the ratio of teleconference to in-person, or video conference to in-person appointments, has actually decreased. So we're seeing less people in the office. So traffic-wise, maybe one on average, and there's different days. Every day is different in the office, but for the most part, it's a fairly quiet environment where we're seeing 1 to 2 people, maybe 2 people an hour if our appointments cross. But generally, like on average, it would be 1 vehicle an hour if they're coming by vehicle to the office. The proposal with the parking plan that I'm told would be sort of acceptable, because I can't have an entrance on Main Street. I'm too far down Main Street. So that parking proposal would involve traffic coming down 8th Avenue. That would be the direction to clients, would be to come down 8th Avenue. We're the first house on the cul-de-sac. So we wouldn't direct clients to go out all the way down the back lane, just because it's gravel and it's not in great shape. No offense. But it's easier for people to go out the paved street than the gravel, and then it's less disruptive for everybody. So the instruction for clients would just be to utilize 8th. So that would be the increase in traffic, I think, would be minimal, but there would be the increase in traffic there would be on 8th. Or if people, we would direct people to come into the parking lot, but if people, as they sort of do with the courthouse, if they choose to park on Main Street, I don't know what I would do to sort of prevent that. There's already parking issues on Main Street, so the direction would be come to the parking lot. We have parking for you there. So traffic-wise, that would be the concern. Pedestrian-wise, I don't predict too much pedestrian traffic, although it would just be staff coming to and from the court office, which I believe happens regularly in any event. So it would just be foot traffic there. With respect to sort of the plan, I don't know, people don't necessarily know this. I'm originally from Ontario. I moved to Dauphin 14 years ago. Have a family here. My plan is to be working in this community for the next 20 years. So for the foreseeable future, well, 17 if I can retire at 55, but for the foreseeable future, that space would be a law office that I would conduct business out of. I don't have any plans of relocating. I've built a pretty good life in Dauphin. I enjoy it here. My family is from here, so or my husband's family's from here, so we're not really going anywhere. So it would be nice to have a space that's my own, that I'm paying money into equity, and that house really needs work. So I would really like to take it to be something that I can take pride in ownership of, that I can see that clients are going to enjoy coming to that office, and it's going to be a respectable, beautiful sort of cul-de-sac area there to match the rest of the landscape on that corner. Right now, it's very much an eyesore, and I'm aware that it has been an eyesore basically for the last 5 years. And I don't believe that it was well kept before I purchased it either. So I think it's just been on a train of deterioration. So I'm very hopeful that I can bring it back. And I don't want it to be intrusive to the neighborhood. I want it to be consistent with the neighborhood. The areas I practice, I don't think would impact. Like I said, I have a lot of clients. Confidentiality is a huge thing in the office. So the entrance, that's why the entrance, the way I've set it up in the plans is to be on the side, so that when people are coming in, they're not coming in off of Main Street. They're not coming in at the back lane. They have the ability to park and then come in without sort of the public eye seeing them. Contrary to what my website says, and I know this is sometimes a concern for people, is the practice of criminal law. I had an associate that was practicing criminal law. After she came back from maternity leave, she no longer wanted to do that, so we don't have a criminal law practice. We practice family, real estate, wills and estates, and some very minor civil disputes, but we don't practice in criminal law, so there wouldn't be that clientele coming to the office. Sometimes that's a concern for people as well. So other than that, that's sort of the plans for the project. I'm hoping that it can move forward so that the building can carry on. And I'm happy to address any concerns that I haven't thought of already that either of you have, because I assume that there's some concerns, but I'm not sure if there's any questions from council before I step aside.
Yeah, you can, so the process would be, Lori, now for, I open the floor to council to ask any questions of you, any clarification questions or anything that they'd like summarized that hasn't already been presented by you. So I'll just wait for a second to get council to consider. Any questions, members? No? Okay, so since there aren't any members or questions regarding you, you can have a seat for now. And is there, and there's no one else in the room that wants to speak in favor of the application at this time? No. So is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition or to object to this? So go ahead, Enid, you can be up first. And it's the same kind of thing. You have the floor and then council will ask you questions if there are any.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
My name is Enid Graham, and I live at 710 Main Street North, which is to this way of the proposal. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my concerns. These observations and concerns, well, may be similar to Jason's. These are mine and mine alone, drawn in part from living at my home for 38 years. I do have copies of the proposed and supporting proposal and supporting materials, and will address my concerns of the proposed zone change. While I'm not completely against the proposal, I have many questions and concerns. The first one being the condition of the interior and the roof, as stated as beyond repair. I don't mean to be rude, but you did purchase the property within the last 5 years, and the roof would have been showing wear at that time. As a prospective buyer, were you not aware of the advised of the roof condition? And if there was interior damage at that time, it's on you for letting it fall into the state it is now. Had these two items of property ownership been dealt with in a timely manner, the said property would not be in the shameful state of disrepair it is now. Again, that's my opinion. I also question if the dwelling was heated during the past 5 years. Just a question. The extra dollars mentioned would be far less if even a minimum care was accorded to this dwelling. The second thing I'd like to address is parking. As you mentioned, you have in July 6 staff members going to be at the law office. In your proposed drawing, you have only allocated 4 staff parking for 4 people. Client parking is seen as 6 spots, front to back down the middle of the south side of the property, with room to drive around on both sides and turn at the Main Street end. As there is only 30 feet in which to do this, I feel this is impossible, especially in winter with snow accumulation. Let me quote to you the option of the parking considerations for option 2. The entry for this option would be from 8th Avenue Northeast. The parking lot entrance would technically be off the back lane and that runs behind the property, as the end of 8th Avenue Northeast is a cul-de-sac. 722 is the first property on the back lane, right next, as stated, right next to the cul-de-sac. So the increase in traffic would only affect the entrance to the back lane, not the entirety of the back lane itself. This would have a larger impact on 8th Avenue Northeast traffic than option 1, as clients would use this street for entering and exiting the office. This option would make parking on the property less maneuverable, but still manageable. As mentioned, I have lived at this location for 38 years at 710 Main Street North, using that back lane as the only access to my property. Number 1, the state of repair of the lane itself is one pothole after the next, some being large puddles. This is due in part to the amount of traffic and speed of the traffic seen daily. Many of those who live on 8th Avenue Northeast use this lane for the entrance and exit, not going east to First Street. As many homes have 2 or more vehicles, traffic is constant. Also, I'd like to state that the dwelling at 722 is a 1 3/4 story home. Nowhere is it mentioned what is being planned for this space, and I hope you can help me out with that. I hope it's not a rental apartment. Also, I'd like to, going back to parking, and you had mentioned parking on Main Street being an issue. I'd like to note here that there is a no parking sign that is actually 2 or 3 feet in front of Jason's home. So there's no parking in front of 722 at all because of its proximity to the corner. So it's on the rest of the street if that's chosen. In conclusion, the only way I see to make this proposal palatable to those of us residing adjacent to the back lane is to have the lane permanently blocked off at the south property line of 722. In doing this, all traffic will be directed to 8th Avenue Northeast as stated in the proposal, not funneled down the back lane. Anything here doesn't even address the property value and taxes that we might see in the future. As a homeowner here for, as stated, 38 years, I have a vested interest in this matter and feel my concerns should be given due consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, Enid. Any member of council have questions for Enid? Clarifications required? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, you're up, sir.
Jason DeWitt. The only one concern I don't got a problem with the lawyer's office there. It's just the parking in between the both residents. It's going to be like it just got no privacy. It's just going to be cars coming driving in, and it's going to be a playground for the kids running back and forth in the summertime and the wintertime. It's just going to, it's not going to be no privacy. No privacy. Because I got a picture window there. People are going to be looking in the window, looking over the fence, into the yard and everything. It's like a parkade. It's going to be like a parkade there. That's my only concern. I don't got no trouble with the lawyer's office there. It's just the parking in between the two homes.
Council, any questions for Jason about? Okay. So is there anyone else besides,
Yeah.
so is there anyone in the room besides Enid and Jason that would also like to speak in opposition of the application? Seeing none. So the representations for this hearing are now closed. So the process now is council can decide or have discussion about whether or not any adjustments to the proposal need to or should be made. Charlotte, is there any specifics you wanted to add or share to?
No, I think that it's a standard procedure for any of our public hearings for zoning or rezoning. We'll close the public hearing, and then there's a resolution that will be read. Council can debate if that is what they would like to pass or defeat, and it can be voted on. Because there was no further questions for any. We have not officially closed the meeting yet with the resolution, so there's one last opportunity for council to ask questions of any of the people who presented.
So so traffic is a concern down the back lane, and you were saying, you need that the 7th, 8th, northeast, yeah, the people are going down there. That's where the traffic, because it's really just 4 houses on there, and one house right now is.
That's correct. It is correct. But behind us, like right behind my property and Henderson's property is a 4-plex. They are parking off the back lane. Behind that are 2 row houses of, I think, either 6 or 8 apartments. Again, they have to come down the back lane to access parking. So it's not just us 4 homes. There's a lot more, probably more than any other street, well, a lot of streets per se, that have like 6 or 7 dwellings on them. This has a lot more people. And again, because some people have, some homes have 2 or 3 vehicles attached to them, it makes for a lot of traffic. And then, as I said, I know some of the people that live on 8th Avenue use that lane. They come down it to get to Main Street, they leave Main Street and go home through that. It's a T lane, and it's the parallel to Main Street part of it. Like I said, the only way I can see that for myself is if it's blocked. So traffic is directed to the way you want it to be. Because you can tell people all you want, they're still going to take the fastest route, and that will be down the lane to Main Street.
Okay, Kathy, that's fine. Response. Okay. So the proposal to block it would be at the T, at the junction where the,
No, it would be
you're suggesting,
the straight down the south side, this side from Main Street down to the end of the back lane, right along the property line between,
No, where the fence is?
from Main Street,
Right across it.
straight down
Where
between
that- where
Jason
that
and
back garage is?
722 to Main, to
Correct.
correct,
Yeah.
south end is, yes, and straight down
I counted 80 vehicles go down that count.
Daily.
Daily. And on my cameras, there's vehicle after vehicle after vehicle after vehicle.
That increase state roads off the street.
Yes.
The river.
Somewhat, it started increasing when they made it into a cul-de-sac, of course. And then after the First Street closing that river, it also,
yeah, so you're suggesting just up on the map right now, Charlotte has a pointer. So that would be on the south end of the property
Right
line,
across
something
the
like,
back.
so almost like mid-block,
yeah.
just sort of.
yeah.
And
So-
people don't
Permanently
drive
blocked
slow.
off.
People don't drive slow down that back.
So something to note is also providing access, like you said, to the residents who live on 8th Avenue Northeast. who probably come down 8th Avenue and then go into their back lane, right? So the ones that live right on the corner, they also need access. And I'm not sure how much they'd appreciate going all the way around.
I can't understand why they reduced that back lane. Yes, it has been somewhat helped out by gravel and whatever else they put down on there. It's not quite as rough, but previous to last summer's installment of that stuff, it was so rough. I don't know why anybody would choose, and I think Mr. Van Alstyne can attest to this, would choose to go down that back lane as opposed to
The
pavement.
front.
Mr. Van Alstyne came and looked at it because I was here to complain. There were potholes like this, that far apart, and there were a dozen. And
Yeah, can I just, maybe this is more a question for Charlotte about back lanes. Like I noticed on the map, some of our back lanes are concrete, some are not. This one's obviously gravel. A block over behind the library, it's cement. Why does the city pave some and not others?
I can try to.
thanks,
So
sir.
Yep, sure.
when the lanes that are concrete, they were all done through a local improvement. So the adjacent properties paid for that lane, like through taxation. It was not paid for by taxation through the city. It was paid for by the local, like a local improvement fund. So that's when that was done in, I think, the 70s at some point. I don't quote me on that, but all of the properties down Main Street were done through a local improvement fund.
all that were done through that, because they're not all done.
No, that's correct. Yes, anything that was paved to concrete was done through a local improvement fund. Yes.
So therefore, individuals or businesses had to agree to pay.
Yeah, I don't know the details how that worked. If it was like majority ruled on the block, so if there was 5 owners and 3 said yes, if all 5
I
were
often
subject,
wonder-
yeah, I'm not sure either. But that was how that was done.
Just one other quick, okay, go ahead. Just out of curiosity, for that cul-de-sac, like who owns it? Is that something that people can park on, even if you were going to visit your friend on 8th Northeast? Is that a parking place, or what's the status of that?
Cul-de-sac's an open road plan, so it's city-owned right of way. I believe there's no parking in the cul-de-sac. Just, I don't know the details. That's just
Probably just for logistics of and being able to turn
to
around
navigate it. I would
to
imagine.
navigate
yeah.
through.
But-
But otherwise, yeah, public parking on street is for everybody or wherever.
Councillor Sobering?
Yeah, I don't have too much actual questions because I kind of know that corner, and it sounds like there's 2 issues. One is there's traffic. That back alley is bad. There is, looking at the map here, there's lots of multi-unit that was built along that back block, that 7th. So there's high level of traffic. But at the same time, it doesn't sound like that's a law office issue. That's a multi-unit, like the area issue. So I mean, there's the request for building a law office on the lot. The neighbor seeing into the business and the parking there, and then there's just the traffic issue. So I kind of see it as two things, 2 issues to address. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to get Charlotte to just do a bit of an overview of the process from this point on, so that both people that are in favor and opposed understand the next steps that council can take. So, Charlotte, if you don't
Yes,
mind?
certainly. So again, before we close officially read the resolution to close the public hearing, if council would like to gather more information, what we would do is recess the public hearing and then reconvene at our next council meeting, so more evidence can be brought forward. If council does not want any more evidence, then we would close the public hearing, and then we have a resolution here as proposed by staff, and council can vote on that. We can read that in, and council can vote whether they want to pass the resolution with conditions or not pass it at all.
Okay. So everyone's clear on process. We've got a couple of these, but, yeah.
Next question. Do you want to close it?
So do we want to close the discussion? Counselor Bellar?
Okay, I always think of potholes as cheap speed bumps, but they're unintentional, right? Whereas speed bumps are intentional and they're usually marked, you know. Have we ever had a discussion about putting a speed bump in this area?
We have not in my 14 years.
Okay, so,
I just,
Counselor
so,
Daly, yeah.
Counselor Sorbing made a good point that, and that's what I'm seeing, there's kind of two separate issues here. It sounds like regardless whether the applicant is approved or not, we still have an issue with the back alley. That has to be dealt with. So really, the other thing I'm thinking is the back alley has nothing to do with the applicant's approval. But it doesn't mean, I'm just trying to figure out how do we make that, can we do that all in one motion with, as you said, with conditions? Well, I'm trying to say this, how do I say this? I don't want to penalize the applicant by saying, you can have it once we figure out how to fix the alley, but until then, you can't do anything. I'd like some sort of advice, I guess, on how do we do that? How do we do both?
Sure. So I think that if we've boiled it down to two issues, one is traffic in the back lane and the other is privacy. Is that fair? To
Can
say,
I
Enid, what,
respond
sure.
To Councillor Bailey, and I guess Councillor Sobering. We both said we're not necessarily opposed to the law office itself. It's just the added traffic that comes with it.
Yep.
And I'm here to tell you they will go down that back lane. Because 8th Avenue people use it when they can use pavement and go out the other way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To me, it's a no-brainer. So I think, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I think they are kind of related to each other.
Right. So the one issue is the traffic, right?
Yep.
And the other issue is the privacy.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll start with maybe the
Well,
easier.
You're wanting to rezone it, and I'm saying no unless the traffic is smoothed out.
Okay. Yep. That's
So,
the two issues are the traffic
but
and
it also
the privacy.
pertains to the bylaw of rezoning.
Yeah, no, we're just talking about sort of if there's 2 points of contention or 2 concerns or objections or whatever, they can be boiled down into the amount of traffic and the privacy for the next door neighbor. So one of the things that we have in our zoning bylaw could be a requirement for a fence, a 6-foot fence in between the two. Is there currently a 6-foot fence?
There's a fence there now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It will need to, it's the.
It has to be redone.
It needs to be.
It's redone because
Okay.
To your amendment.
Okay.
it's my main thing. I got a picture window on that side.
Yeah.
I don't want cars driving in.
Are you planning to put a fence in front of the residence as well?
No, just it would be,
Just to replace that.
we would replace the current fence, a lower one.
It's just that I got a picture window on that side.
Sure.
And I just can't, like, with the vehicles, I don't know how they're gonna make a U-turn in there, because it's, I don't care, unless people are gonna be driving a smart car in there.
Yeah, and I know that Laura, you've got an engineer drawing for what's the turning radius in there. So
Like, my thing is just main, is the privacy right there.
Yeah.
People-
and so would that 6-foot fence in good condition address, like if it was a fence that not a chain link fence, but would a solid fence address that issue?
People can still see the yard.
How high is your picture?
It's quite high. I can't look, like, where if I'm standing on the ground, I can't look at it. Like, my picture window's like this. So if
people
you're,
standing at ground level can't see.
Well, if you're standing back, you can see inside the house. Because I
Okay,
got, like,
okay, so
yeah,
that's one thing, and we specific have something when it's between a commercial property and a residential property, there's a requirement for some fencing for privacy. So that's one thing. Yeah, maximum 6 feet, actually.
like, if they're standing back, they're still going to see inside the house.
Right,
It's just, and like my thing is going to be the traffic.
right.
It's like, I can understand if you only have three to five customers a day or 6. You pretty well can park on the street. Main Street.
Mhm. And then I think
Stop walking.
the condition of the back lane is something that we can address, but
Like, I'm not being rude or anything, but I can't count how many times in my hands the back lane gets cleaned in the winter or it gets maintained in the summer.
yeah, and I don't think it's any lower level of service than any other back lane in town. That yeah. And then in terms of closing a back lane, there would have to be a lot more study that has to be done.
Like, it would be a problem with garbage. Because half the time garbage guys are backing up anyways.
Well, I'm just saying there's a lot more to it
Yeah.
than sort of just presenting it now and council being able to say, yeah, let's do that. There's a lot more work that would go in, and I would advise council not to make that decision today to close it. However, if council does want more information and consider that, then we would have to do that recess and then reconvene and provide more information at the next meeting.
Okay, so if there are any other questions or comments from council, so the motion by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, that we resolve that we reconvene to the regular council meeting. All in favor? So then, now that we're back officially in meeting,
So this is, do they want to close it or do they want to recess and get information?
so does council feel they've had enough information presented and want to make a decision? Or, yeah, okay, head nods, okay. So moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly, be it resolved that public hearing for rezoning application 1203-122800 for the owner and applicant Laurie Vandenduel Law Corporation for the rezoning of Lot 20 and part of Lot 19, Plan 18A, Plan 340, which is 722 Main Street North, from residential single-family to commercial mixed to allow for renovation of an existing dwelling and construction of a 1,214 square foot addition for a law office use be now concluded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Motion by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Bellemare, whereas due notice was given with respect to rezoning application 1203-122800. And whereas there were some objections received to the application, be resolved that the rezoning application for owner and applicant Laurie Vandenduel for the rezoning of Lot 20 and Lot 19, Plan 18A, from residential single-family to commercial mixed to allow for renovation of existing dwelling and construction of a addition to the law office to comply with the City of Dauphin zoning bylaw be approved with the following conditions. A building permit will be required from the city for the conversion of the existing single-family dwelling in addition to allow the proposed commercial use, and construction shall conform to the Manitoba Building Code. That the proposed construction and renovation may require a new service branch, connection from the street lines to the building. The size of the service connection be determined by the building design requirements. The owner will be responsible for the cost of this service. The cost of construction and maintenance of the driveway access approach will be the responsibility of the property owner. A minimum of 4 off-street parking stalls will be required to be developed on-site. Primary access using a lane is permitted. However, no extra lane maintenance or snow clearing is provided other than what is provided as part of the normal operational policies of the City of Dauphin, and that lot surface drainage is the property owner's responsibility. It is recommended that it be done in consultation and cooperation with adjacent property owners. So that's the entirety of the motion. Call for the question then. All those in favor of this, please indicate. Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. So what I wanted to say with that is, considering the discussion that you brought forward and that most of the issues are related to actually city responsibility with the back lane and traffic, that I'm going to recommend that council, this becomes an agenda item or topic for discussion to try and rectify the traffic concerns and or do something, and maybe in consultation with all of the people on 8th Avenue, 7th Avenue, and that multi-unit, and you folks on Main Street, to have a discussion to come up with some better plan for that. I know that people all along Main Street, this is not related to this resolution at all, but people all along Main Street on the east side have traffic issues related to people driving down the back lane and trying to find parking for their businesses and all those things. So it's something that council, I think, heard in your presentation today, that it's a concern. And I know that following the building requirements and the conditions, that the fence, the privacy fence, hopefully, Jason, will be enough of a barrier for you that there won't be a concern for the issue that you brought up regarding privacy. So with that, I'd like to thank you both for coming, or all for coming and presenting your cases, and council has made a decision. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you can go. But if you want to stay, you're more than welcome.
So this will be read twice later in the meeting.
Yes. Yeah, that's process.
And also, when would we be notified of the decision if we don't stay?
Well, the decision will be made today with the rest, I'm assuming that the second and third readings will be passed, since the first reading was passed unanimously. And the resolution we just read.
Will be a parking lot between my house and that, please.
As the plan was presented, yes.
May I say just one more thing?
Certainly.
Back to traffic and this going ahead, that there'll be eyes on that back lane. And again, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm hoping there will be no construction vehicles going.
Well, there'll probably be some, but because there's no other way to get there, right?
Yes, proposed off 8th Avenue. So we'll have to use the back lane from 7th to 8th.
Well, we can probably spend all day in it talking about,
Well,
but we
you
can't
don't live
stop.
there.
Well, we can't stop people from going down the back lane.
We gave you a proposal to stop people. Sure. Yeah, yeah, I'm
Okay.
open to
Yep.
helping.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We've got a couple of outstanding water accounts. Roll 014760 in the amount of $165.40. They did not pay their final water bill. And 0006900, $7,960.28. And the owner failed to pay their current water bill. Both of these accounts will be added to property taxes. We have one proclamation today's meeting, and I'll turn that over to Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the city of Dauphin recognizes the historical injustices endured by Indigenous peoples due to colonization, forced assimilation, and systemic injustices. And whereas Indigenous Survivors Day on June 30th provides an opportunity to acknowledge the resilience, strength, and culture heritage of Indigenous communities who have persevered through historical traumas. And whereas designating June 30th as Indigenous Survivors Day creates a platform for healing, education, and dialogue, raising awareness about the unique struggles faced by Indigenous peoples. And whereas this observance serves as a solemn reminder of the ongoing challenges faced by Indigenous communities and highlights the importance of supporting their cultural heritage and promoting understanding. And whereas by implementing Indigenous Survivors Day on June 30th, the City of Dauphin demonstrates its commitment to honoring Indigenous survivors, promoting healing, and building a more equitable and inclusive community. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim June 30th, 2025 as Indigenous Survivors Day.
Thank you very much, Councillor Daly. We have a couple of filing items. We have the News Digest from Mountain View School Division of June the 9th. And we had a Manitoba news release from the Government House Leader on the future of local journalism. And there was a couple of name mentions in that article about the wonderful work that, no, actually it was interesting reading, and just I can speak on behalf of council that we truly appreciate the local journalism, the quality of the local journalism in our community, and we want to keep it in place for as long as possible. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly. Be resolved that all items listed in red under item 5, the consent agenda, be approved and form part of these minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that we accept as information the corporate report from the ICT manager for the month of May. Any questions or comments regarding that report? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Be resolved that the finance accounts, having been examined by council, be hereby approved and authorized. And we had 65 checks in the recent run for a total of $300,083.97. There were 4 EFT transfers for a total of $31,776.41. There were no voided checks in the current range nor in the past range, and there were no further electronic payments. Call for the question. All those in favor of the financial report? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin and seconded by Councillor Ray. Be resolved that we accept as information the unaudited financial statements for the period ending March 31st, and that's regarding the general fund balance sheet and income statement and the utility fund balance sheet and income statement. Any questions or comments regarding these reports? Call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Sobering. Be resolved is that council accepts as information the reserve report for the period ending March 2025. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Be resolved that council accepts as information the minutes and reports from the following committees. We had the annual report from the DART program, and we had the manager's report and the regular board meeting minutes from May the 7th from the Fort Dauphin Museum. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Moved by Councillor Bellemare, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Whereas since 2011, the City of Dauphin has leased 2,957 square feet of office space on the second and third floors and 280 square feet of storage space in the basement of CNR Place to Manitoba Prosecution Services. And whereas Manitoba Prosecution Services' current 3-year lease for that space at a rate of $25.72 and $5 per square foot for storage space with a 2010 base year for operational inflation calculations expired on March 31st of this year. And whereas at the regular meeting of November 4th, 2024, Council approved an offer to extend and amend the lease for Manitoba Prosecution Services to occupy the office and storage space for a 5-year term from April the 1st of this year to March 31st of 2030 at a new rate of $29.33 per square foot for office space and $5 per square foot for storage space with a base year of 2022. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a lease extension amendment agreement between the City and the Minister of Public Service Delivery, which formalizes the extension under these agreed upon terms from the period of April 1st to March 31st, 2030, and a memo dated June 19th from the Deputy City Manager recommending the agreement be approved. Further be resolved that council agrees with the Deputy City Manager's recommendations and authorizes the lease extension for the 5-year period as indicated at the proposed new rates as indicated, to be signed and sealed by the mayor and the city manager. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly. Whereas on May 21st of this year, the city released an RFP for cured-in-place pipe lining for approximately 1,250 meters of sewer main renewals along 4 roadways identified in the 2025 financial plan. Be it resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated June 12th from the Director of Public Works advising that the RFP closed on June the 4th and 3 contractors submitted proposals for the renewal. Capital Sewer Services for $297,685. Instituform Technologies for $310,400 and Superior City Contracting for a total of $398,750, and recommends that the RFP be awarded to Capital Sewer Services of Vaughan, Ontario in the amount of $297,685 plus taxes. Further be resolved that council agrees with the recommendation from the Director of Public Works and Operations and awards the RFP to Capital Sewer Services for the said amount. Further be resolved that council authorizes the contract between the city and Capital Sewer Services be signed and sealed by the mayor and city manager on behalf of the city. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Deputy Mayor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Ray. Whereas the Audit and Finance Committee reviewed the 2024 audited financial statements at the meeting on June the 23rd of this year, and whereas the Audit Finance Committee recommends council approves the 2024 audited financial statements, be it resolved that the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024 be approved, and that council authorizes the mayor and deputy mayor to sign these statements on behalf of the city. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Daly, seconded by Deputy Mayor Loughlin. Whereas the Dauphin Adventure Fund derived from Tourism and Economic Development Reserve is intended to support activities that foster tourism, stimulate economic activity, and create positive visitor experiences in the community. And whereas the June 2025 wildfires in Manitoba brought more than 300 evacuees to our community, and most evacuees have been staying in Dauphin hotels and increasing local economic activity, including the generation of accommodation tax revenue, be resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated June 19th from the Economic Development Manager requesting that up to $5,000 from the Dauphin Adventure Fund be approved for the purchase of museum and pool passes and cinema tickets and snacks to help provide recreation opportunities for the evacuees during their stay. Further be resolved that council agrees with the Economic Development Manager's recommendation and authorizes the use of up to $5,000 from the Tourism and Economic Development Reserve, the Dauphin Adventure Fund, for the purchase of these passes, tickets, and snacks as outlined to support the wildfire evacuees temporarily as they reside in our community. Further be resolved that the passes and tickets may be distributed through the evacuation center or made available upon identification by evacuees at the participating attractions. Any questions or comments regarding this? I just like to say that, quote myself in terms of cliches, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So wonderful gesture. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Whereas Ladle Construction has proposed the development of an approximate 20-unit hotel accommodation located on the south side of Eric Irwin Way across from the Best Western Plus hotel parking lot. And whereas the proposed development is expected to meet a growing demand for short-term accommodations, particularly for construction crews and similar clientele, and will contribute to the local economy through employment and future tax revenues. Be resolved that council accepts as information a memo dated April 22nd from the Economic Development Manager requesting the council approves the following incentive package for Laydale Construction in support of the above noted development, which includes a rebate of up to $25,000 for water and sewer installation, a waiver of the requirement for hard surfacing the parking lot for the first 5 years, allowing use of gravel for this period, a $50,000 rebate on the municipal portion of property taxes for year 1 and 2, valued at approximately $11,500 per year, totaling $23,000. Further be resolved that council recognizes the value of supporting strategic developments through targeted incentives and agrees with the Economic Development Manager's recommendation and approves the incentive package as outlined in above, subject to conditions that the developer remains in compliance with all applicable legislation and permitting requirements, and that all accounts with the City of Dauphin are in good standing. Any questions or comments regarding this? Councillor Sobering.
Yeah, I think you might have misspoke. I think you said a $50,000 tax rebate or 50%, but maybe that's just my tired post grad brain not hearing it correctly. But it's written correctly in the thing. 50%, yeah. Yeah.
Call for the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laughlin. Whereas the city allocated $5,000 in the 2025 budget to accommodate applications under the Storefront Improvement Incentive Program, be it resolved the council accepts the information, a memo dated June 19th from the Economic Development Manager advising that 2 eligible applications align with the program objectives and recommends that they each be approved for $2,500 to support their storefront improvement projects. That includes Super Thrifty with the application by Sherry Gardner for north wall rejuvenation, including brick repointing and repainting, and Caddy's Golf Simulator and Lounge, presented by Jordan Penarowski for facade renewal. Be resolved that council agrees with the Economic Development Manager's recommendation and awards $2,500 in funding to each of these applicants. Any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Councillor Bellemare.
Just a comment, with the resolution we had earlier in these two, it's just improving the look of our community 3 times, that's wonderful. So thank you for your work.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. I'm wondering if our golf champion will be making use of that simulator. Oh, never mind, he has his own. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Bellemare. Be resolved that council accepts information correspondence dated June 16th from Barrett Procession requesting a letter of support for the Royal Canadian Air Force C-130 aircraft flyby as low as 500 feet over the Dauphin Ag Fairgrounds between June 27th and June 29th. Further be resolved that council supports the inclusion of the RCAF flyby as part of the Dauphin Fair festivities and approves a letter of support in response to this request. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Sobering, seconded by Councillor Ray, be resolved that bylaw 09/2025, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to amend zoning bylaw 04, regulating the use and development of land at 722 Main Street North, be now read a second time. All those in favor of this resolution? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. And finally, motion by Deputy Mayor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Daly, be resolved that bylaw 09/2025, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to amend zoning bylaw 04/2015, regulating the use and development of land at 722 Main Street North, be now read a third time and be signed and sealed by the mayor in the City of Dauphin. It's a recorded vote. So Councillor Sobering, yay or nay? In favor? Deputy Mayor Laughlin, yes. Councillor Bellemare, favor. Councillor Ray, Councillor Daly, and Bozyak. Unanimous. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Sobering, be resolved that council accepts the information, the council's reports for today's meeting. Now, we can't vote on this motion until we hear these reports, so let's hear them. Let's start with, who wants to go first today? Councillor Ray, you're up first.
Thank you, Mayor Bozyak. June 9th, I attended the last regular council meeting. On the 10th, I attended the Dean Cooley GM 30th anniversary barbecue, which helped to raise funds for the Dauphin Food Bank. On the 13th in the morning, I met with CAO Griffiths and Deputy CAO Gadet to discuss city band issues, and later that afternoon, my son and I cooked hot dogs at the Pride Day celebration at Vermilion Park, which was very well attended and without incident. June 16th, I attended our planning and processes meeting at City Hall. On the 18th, I spent the noon hour at the city shop cooking hot dogs and hamburgers for our city staff, so that seems to be my shtick. June 19th, I attended the special rec meeting. And this afternoon, I was present at City Hall for the Audit and Financial Committee meeting. And I would like to take this time to commend our finance manager, Scott Carr, and his staff for once again having a clean audit. It's very reassuring each year that our finances are in such good hands. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Who's next? Councillor Bellemare jumps to the mic.
Okay, June 11th, I attended Riverside Cemetery meeting or getting engineering work done for the concrete portion of the columbarium site plan. On the 11th, I attended the zoning bylaw open house here at City Hall, and we had some community members drop by to review proposed changes. On the 16th, planning and priority meeting. On the 18th, I too was at the barbecue, but I couldn't get close to the barbecue, so I was helping with setup. And on the 19th, I attended the liaison meeting with the DDAAC, which is at the Watson. And the new heat pumps have been installed, and I think the community is noticing, and everyone's enjoying the new cool temperatures in the building. And on the 20th, I dropped by the Friendship Center to check out the activities for National Indigenous Peoples Day. And on the 21st, I attended the funeral service for Darren Killen that was held at the Watson. And I want to express my condolences to the Killen family and the Dauphin Fire Department family for their huge loss. I didn't know Deputy Fire Chief Darren Killen personally, but from what the words that I heard spoken, I mean, he was an awesome man that gave so much to his community and to his family, and he's leaving a gaping hole in our community. Two big events coming up this weekend: Country Fest. I hope people are attending and volunteering or doing both, and the Ag Society, welcome back for another year. And then, of course, our New Canada Day celebrations on CN Park. 5 to 8 p.m. And just a big kudos to all the community members who are going to be turning out tomorrow at Tuesday at the Sportsplex on the west side of town and help replant those 3,000 trees beginning at 9 a.m. and continuing until they are done. So were relocated, so now we're relocating them back to where they should be. It was hugely disappointing that they ripped them out, but it's hugely satisfying to know that community members will fix this tomorrow. So thank you for that, and wishing everyone pleasant celebrations over the holiday weekend. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Whose light is turning on next? Councillor Daly.
Thanks to Councillor Ray for reminding him about a bunch of stuff. I had nothing on here until he started putting it down. And I was there. Where did I go now? June 9th, I attended the last council meeting. June 10th, I also attended Dean Cooley GM's 30th anniversary in support of fundraiser for the food bank. Let's jump back up here on June 16th, attended P&P at City Hall. During that whole week, off and on, meetings, emails, phone with the vet board duties regarding property and board operations. June 18th, I also cooked and kept Kathy away from the barbecues at the city shop. Appreciate that was fun and really enjoyed being there. And I did know Darren Killen, and even though I didn't make the ceremony, he was the epitome of what we would call a professional firefighter for your community. I know the fire department will miss him greatly, as will his family. But they will move on, and he will be a great memory for them to follow. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. Deputy Mayor Loughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For me, June 9th, regular council meeting here at City Hall. On the 16th, I was at the Planning and Priorities meeting here at City Hall as well. The next day, Tuesday, June 17th, I attended the June District meeting in Gilbert Plains for the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, where I was re-selected to be the resolutions chair for the Parkland. I think this is 5 years now, so super exciting stuff. So that's going forward later in August. On the 21st, Saturday, I attended the grad parade and promenade. Congratulations to all the graduates at the DRCSS and throughout the Parkland and Manitoba for that matter. And June 23rd, earlier today, I was at the Audit and Finance meeting here at City Hall as well. And just want to say, I hope everyone has a great weekend at both the fair and Dauphin's Country Fest, two really important events for our community. And that ends my report.
Wasn't there something else that happened on the 21st?
Yeah, it was pretty rainy out that day.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Sobring.
Wow, that's not cryptic at all. On the June 9th, I attended the regular meeting, the 16th Planning and Priorities. The 11th, I also was at the cemetery meeting with Councillor Bellemare. I had a graduate. It's my first one, and it was a exhausting event, but very well organized. Teachers really deserve a lot of credit and bringing these kids to 12 and onward. And it was well attended. I was at the promenade, the parade, very nice. The tree planting, I was at the earlier version and I planted one single tree and I didn't get 15 photo ops like I requested, but I will be at the next one on Tuesday tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it is kind of a bad news, good news story. And I think there's a local business that's giving out a little reward for anyone who shows up there. So it's also a nice way of saying thanks, way to go, way to be an awesome community. And also condolences to the Killen family. And hopefully everybody on the celebration weekends enjoys the fair, enjoys Country Fest, and we get some good weather. So that ends my report.
Thank you, Councillor Sobring. I want to acknowledge Council and Deputy Mayor Laughlin for running the show the last 3.5 weeks or so I was away. Spent a bunch of time in Newfoundland, and just an interesting anecdote, and this is a shout out to Charla and our administrative team at the city. I didn't know that my cell phone I could take and send texts while I'm on an airplane, but while I was heading to Newfoundland, I had a call from a friend of mine whose parents were evacuating out of Flin Flon, and that was a bit of a very stressful situation, and that got resolved through other methods. But the story I'm talking about in regards to our administration is a call I received a little bit after that while I was just in Newfoundland from the minister, Minister Simard, calling about a situation with some of the evacuees in our community, and there was a resolution that was required, and that I was not in town. And I couldn't personally handle it. And so I sent a message out immediately, and within 35 minutes, it was resolved. And I got a call back from the minister thanking the city for their quick work. And so again, Charla, thank you for doing some of that stuff that is not on the job description, or maybe it is, and all those other things as assigned. But it was another example of the city stepping up in a variety of different ways to meet a need that wasn't really, or to solve a problem that wasn't ours. And it's we're working on the back end of some of those things with the province right now, because as most of you do know, that Dauphin was never a provincial designated site for evacuees. However, because of their personal circumstances and other issues, over 300 ended up in our community. And without being designated, that becomes a little bit tricky into how do you manage that. But again, acknowledge city council, staff, organizations in our community, and volunteers and community members, businesses, all who stepped up to do what was the right thing to do. And so it's just a great acknowledgement for our community, and it just shows that when things get tough, or things are tough, that people step up. And I'm so proud of our community for that. And finally, I want to echo what other people have said. A huge loss for our community and our fire service. with Deputy Chief Killen's untimely demise. And as Randy indicated, I knew Darren for a long time, and in a unique kind of way, because he was a member at the gym for many years, and then as a firefighter. And his service was absolutely professional. He was hard on other members of the service, but as almost every speaker acknowledged, because he wanted everyone to get home safe. And that was a unique characteristic that infused an additional level of confidence in our fire service. And I know I spoke with Fire Chief Abry about, and this is a big loss for the department, and I think emotionally and there were some issues in the last year or two in regards to Darren's involvement with the fire department that also brought a great positive light to the fire service and treatment of fire volunteers and people that are volunteering for services all over the province. So I know that in time we'll be past it, but it's one of those things that his impact on the department will be, I think, felt for a very, very long time. And it was very, very positive impact. So a sad day on Saturday, but it was so wonderful to see so many people from far away came to pay their respects. So with that, I'll call for the question then. All those in favor of, and motion is carried. Meeting is